Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Madeline and I create knitting content here on YouTube. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I made stitch markers using Shrinky Dinks. So the pattern I'm going with today are little socks. So here are two examples of the ones I made in this video. And I also want to note too that I'm not the first person who's made stitch markers out of Shrinky Dinks. There are other videos and blog posts about it, so I'll post some of those down below. So if you're looking for something other than little socks, feel free to check those out for different ideas of other shapes you can make. In today's video, I'm first just going to take you through the materials I used and then how I kind of developed the size for each one of these and figured out how to draw them. So in the description box below, you're going to find the template. So that way, if you basically trace that onto your Shrinky Dink paper and then shrink it down, you should end up with approximately the same size. So that way you could just color in your own stitch markers and it'd be super easy. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. These are the main supplies I have to make my stitch markers. So first, of course, starting off with the shrink film. I did get the clear one, and this is a 6-pack. I just picked it up at AC Moore. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna follow the exact instructions on the back of it. So to follow that one, it said I needed permanent markers. So I'm going to use some Sharpies. These are the different colors I have. And then I wanted a way to connect it to the knitting. So typically you see little rings connecting your stitch markers. So I got two different kinds, also at AC Moore. So first, these are little jump rings. So I'll need to go find some pliers to open and close these, but I thought these would work out really well because they are about the same size that a lot of my stitch markers are. And then I thought, just in case I wanted to try something bigger, I also bought these, which are actually little hoop earrings. It comes in a 12-pack, but I thought these might be interesting just to see if they were too big or not. But likely I'll end up using the jump rings instead. And if you're curious, these are the 12mm ones. For the other materials I'm going to be using, I have a ruler so that way I can measure kind of like the measurements it starts at versus the ones it finishes at. That way I can kind of scale these if I feel like they're ending up too big or too small. I have a pair of scissors to cut around each one after I color it. And then lastly, I have a hole punch. I couldn't find a single hole punch, so I'm just going to be using one of these to punch holes so that later on I can put my rings into each of them. And then lastly, I do have my baking tray with parchment paper set up in my kitchen next to my oven, so that way I can just have all of that in one place. Now to start off, I did make two little samples. So this first sample, let me put some paper behind it so you can see it more clearly. These are all the colors of Sharpies that I have. So I just colored this in because I was curious to see what they would look like once they shrunk, because the colors really do become more bold. And then this is a sock I was trying out. Don't really need the background there. This is a sock I was trying out. You can see it turned out a little too big, and you can also see the colors got a little blotchy, probably because it is too big. This one started out about 4.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And now it's about 1.5 by probably just over 1. So it didn't quite shrink down to 20% of its size, but that's all right. Now I know that I'm gonna want them smaller. The first thing I'm gonna do is, just using a pencil and a white sheet of paper, I'm just gonna trace out what I want my sock to look like. And basically what I'll do once I trace it onto the paper is I'll put one of my shrink films on top and then color it right in. And the idea here is if I first put it on the piece of paper and then copy it onto here, I should be able to make different socks of different colors using the same template, and that way they should end up about the same size. Now on this piece of paper, I did just draw 1-inch marks along each of the edges, so I have it across the vertical and then the horizontal. That way I can track along. And I do want to make the sock smaller than the previous one you saw. So this one was a little too big of a stitch marker for me. And I also don't like the way the coloring ended up. So I'm just going to draw a sock that's a little bit smaller. And the nice thing about this too, rather than just drawing on the film, is that I can erase this. So after quite a few tries, here's the sock that I'm going to go with. So it is about 2.5 inches tall, and then again probably about 2 inches wide. So now I'm going to take this, put my shrink film on top of it, and color in this sock. And I think for this first sock, I might try doing stripes, because that sounds fun. And again, I can always use my little color palette that I made to figure out which colors I want to use. Now that I'm all done coloring it, I'm going to cut it out and then punch a hole in the corner. I leave about 1/4 of an inch on every edge around the sock, just as a little border. For the hole punch, I try and get it in pretty far, just so that basically you have enough edge around the hole punch so that it doesn't crack or fall through. Okay, so there's the hole punch on that one. Now I'm going to shrink this and see what size this one ends up. Here are my finished stitch markers, and I did find that the size I drew down here was a great size to make a little stitch marker. So just in comparison to some ones that I've bought in stores, there's a little bird, here's a dog. They're a little bit bigger, but I kind of really like the size of them. I think they'll work out really well. And I've also found that these rings are a great size. So once again, if you're looking for rings, these are the 12mm ones. And they come with 40 pieces, so you can make quite a few. But they're very similar to the ones on these store-bought stitch markers. So would definitely recommend these. And this is what my little sock looks like with one ring on it. And then again, I think I might add a second ring to each one of these, just because I like the flexibility that adds. So then the sock can move kind of all different directions that way. You could also do something like this stitch marker has, where it's a smaller ring attached to the larger ring. I just only purchased one size. So yeah, I made a full set of 5. So I did 4 with stripes, and then on one of them I tried little flowers. I think that turned out really cute. I did find too that I think these ones are too big. I would stick with the smaller stitch markers. Or sorry, the smaller rings. So what I'm gonna do is down in the description box below, I'm gonna upload a PDF version of this where I draw out this sock in the same size on the computer. That way, if you want to make something similar to these, you can just trace along with that sock. Or if you want to make your stitch markers larger or smaller, you have this as a reference point. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. Thanks for watching.